In this podcast episode, Joe Rogan is joined by Diana Pasulka, a professor of religious studies with a deep academic focus on UFOs, extraterrestrial phenomena, and their intersections with religion, spirituality, and culture. The conversation spans a wide range of topics, including notable UFO encounters like that of Travis Walton, government disclosure efforts, theological perspectives on anomalous phenomena, the controversial figure Bob Lazar, and the broader implications of UFO experiences within religious frameworks. They also touch on historical religious texts, the Shroud of Turin, and Pasulka's theories linking artificial intelligence to extraterrestrial life. The conversation opens with a discussion about Travis Walton, a logger from the 1970s who claims to have been abducted by aliens. Walton's story remains remarkably consistent over nearly 5 decades, which lends Pasulka and Rogan reasons to believe in its authenticity. Key eyewitness testimonies, including those of individuals who reportedly disliked Walton, yet still confirmed the abduction event, bolster the case. Walton underwent repeated polygraph tests and maintained his narrative over many years, adding to his credibility. Pasulka notes how Walton's interpretation of the experience evolved over time, from perceiving it as frightening and potentially malicious to suggesting a more spiritual event, though the core facts never changed. She references a recent diner conversation between Walton and Bob Lazar, discussing their perspectives on the phenomena. Pasulka highlights the recent government release of UFO files since May 2026, framing these disclosures as a form of transparency or partial revelation, often referred to as disclosure. She discusses ongoing efforts advocating for presidential acknowledgement of the phenomena and mentions public figures like J.D. Vance, who made headlines by describing UFOs as demons from a theological standpoint. This leads into a nuanced critique of how these phenomena are perceived culturally and politically, as well as the controversies surrounding public disclosure and the varying degrees of government transparency on UFO-related activities. One of the core discussions revolves around how Catholic theology interprets anomalous phenomena like UFO encounters. Pasulka explains that Catholic scholars categorize experiences into 3 groups: the supernatural, miracles, the natural, and the preternatural. The preternatural refers to phenomenon that cannot be readily explained but are not classified as miracles. These could encompass angelic, demonic, or other unseen entities created by God. She situates UFO experiences within this preternatural category, drawing parallels between reported UFO phenomena, such as beings appearing and disappearing, telepathic communication, and deceptive aspects, and traditional accounts of demonic activity. Pasulka stresses, however, that this classification is a theological tool and does not assert definitively that UFO entities are demons, but contends there is a pattern match worth investigating. Pasulka draws attention to certain negative manifestations associated with UFO phenomena, such as the Hitchhiker effect, reported at places like Skinwalker Ranch, where people feel followed or haunted after anomalous events. She recounts testimonies from scientists and witnesses, noting that these phenomena often involve deception, false prophetic messages, and complex psychological effects. Gary Nolan, a researcher with no religious agenda, is cited describing these beings as deceptive, further supporting the idea that some encounters can have malignant aspects. The conversation touches on the difficulties in distinguishing genuine mystical or extraterrestrial contact from mental health issues or imaginative experiences. The podcast explores the difficulty in assessing the veracity of personal UFO experiences, especially when subjective elements such as dreams, visions, or telepathic messages are involved. Pasulka notes that abductees often do not distinguish dreams from inspired visions, complicating the evidential basis of their experiences. The issue of mental health is acknowledged but remains inconclusive for many cases. They also delve into how some prophetic messages provided by these entities turn out to be false, indicating potential deception or complex psychological phenomena. The dialogue shifts to high-profile pilot encounters with unexplained aerial phenomena. They discuss the mysterious 1978 disappearance of Australian pilot Frederick Valentique, who described a strange metallic craft with high speed and artificial lights before losing contact and vanishing without a trace. Radar reports support UFO activity but offer no explanation. Pasulka and Rogan consider this case emblematic of the danger and mystery surrounding these aerial encounters, emphasizing that even highly trained pilots have sometimes had inexplicable, potentially life-threatening engagements with unknown craft. The podcast examines the influential work of UFO researchers Jacques Vallee and John Keel. Vallee, known for skepticism yet open-mindedness, theorized about UFOs as possible supernatural or deceptive forces. Keel conceptualized a superspectrum, an unseen reality encompassing angels, demons, ghosts, and UFOs alike, arguing that these phenomena manipulate and control human perception and history. Pasulka suggests that both researchers view these entities as dangerous and controlling, tying in closely with certain Catholic concepts of spiritual deception. Pasulka and Rogan explore how human sensory faculties limit our ability to fully comprehend reality. They speculate on the existence of alternate dimensions or realities overlapping with our own, where these entities might reside, explaining how UFOs might traverse or manifest between dimensions. This aligns with the idea that some unexplained aerial and spiritual phenomena have been recorded in various cultures and epochs, despite vastly different technological and cultural contexts. Their commonality across history suggests a persistent underlying reality rather than mere imagination or hoaxes. Pasulka reveals her first-hand insights into government operations related to UFO research and secrecy. She speaks about the compartmentalization within the government and competing intelligence agencies, which leads to disinformation and confusion. She discusses Project Beta and the case of Paul Benovitz, who was allegedly targeted with misinformation campaigns aimed at discrediting UFO research. Richard Doty, a figure known for sowing disinformation, is mentioned as further complicating public understanding. Pasulka stresses the challenge for researchers to discern truth amid intentional obfuscation, hidden agendas, and classified programs. Joe and Diana discuss Bob Lazar's controversial story of working on back-engineered alien technology at a secret site called S4 near Area 51. Lazar's scientific knowledge and consistent story lend some credibility to his claims, further validated by details like employee records and corroboration from investigative journalists. Nonetheless, the debate about his truthfulness continues. They consider the possibility that Lazar was part of a controlled disclosure or disinformation campaign designed to reveal limited information while protecting deeper secrets. Pasulka shares that researchers, including physicists and insiders, seem to have mixed opinions on Lazar's story. The conversation addresses potential financial motivations behind secrecy and obfuscation related to UFO programs. Massive unaccounted-for budgets, slush funds allegedly used in secret projects, and the prospect of amnesty for officials involved in misappropriation of funds raise concerns about corruption. Pasulka and Rogan speculate that some reluctance to disclose may stem less from national security and more from protecting the interests of powerful individuals and agencies profiting from hidden programs. They review early UFO sightings and their striking similarities to modern accounts, suggesting continuity rather than technological advancement on the extraterrestrial side. This challenges expectations of progressive improvement in alien craft and hints at the preternatural or non-technological nature of these phenomena. Examples include World War II-era sightings resembling advanced Nazi aircraft, some of which were incorporated into American aerospace efforts through programs like Operation Paperclip. Pasulka explores the intersection between ancient religious texts and UFO-like experiences. The Book of Enoch, in particular, is discussed as an ancient Jewish text describing Watchers and Nephilim, beings who descended from heaven and interbred with humans. These stories resonate with modern abduction narratives and spiritual interpretations of alien encounters. Pasulka notes that vestiges of these beliefs persist in Christian practices, such as women wearing veils, linked to preventing angelic attraction during church services. She emphasizes that these worldviews remain influential in certain religious communities. Throughout the episode, Pasulka shares her personal journey from a secular upbringing through Christian conversion to becoming a Catholic professor deeply involved in studying both religion and anomalous phenomena. Her faith is not detached from her research. Instead, it has been reinforced and reframed by her work studying UFOs and related encounters, which she sees as connected to traditional spiritual realities described by religion. While Pasulka refrains from extensively sharing her own experiences, citing the skepticism non-religious audiences might express, she acknowledges having had encounters consistent with a spiritual worldview. These are characterized by meaningful coincidences, timely interventions, and other phenomena explained in Christian scripture, particularly in the Book of Acts. She distinguishes these from traumatic alien abductions, expressing no desire to undergo or encourage such experiences herself. The host and guest briefly discuss contemporary practices involving meditation and the manifestation of orbs or other entities. Pasulka expresses caution, noting the necessity of cognitive sovereignty and the risks involved in inviting unknown entities into one's mental or spiritual space. She compares the necessity of invitation in certain paranormal lore, such as vampire mythology and demonic traditions, to the implications of opening oneself to these beings, advising prudence despite personal curiosity or willingness. Psychedelic substances as tools to access spiritual or anomalous realms are addressed, with Pasulka recognizing that while such substances can activate the spiritual sense quickly, they do so in ways that are often risky and unpredictable. She contrasts this with more traditional religious practices aimed at cultivating spiritual perception and warns against casual or recreational psychedelic use due to potential negative psychological effects. The discussion includes the importance of surrendering ego control during such experiences for a beneficial outcome. Pasulka engages in an extended discussion about two significant Catholic relics, the Shroud of Turin and the Virgin of Guadalupe's tilma. She outlines contested scientific analyses of the shroud, including carbon dating that suggests a medieval origin versus arguments for its authenticity and inexplicability. The blood stains, image formation, and lack of modern paint or dye are highlighted as anomalous aspects. Similarly, the tilma is described as bearing an image not made by human hands, with underlying layers detectable by infrared imaging, though overpainted later. Both relics serve as examples of enigmatic phenomena where faith, history, and science intersect. Pasulka reveals her most recent book, The Others, which expands on earlier work exploring the religious, cultural, and technological facets of anomalous experiences. The heart of her theory suggests that what humans often interpret as extraterrestrial intelligence might in fact be advanced artificial intelligence, entities evolved from or intertwined with humanity's own technological progress. She draws on science fiction, particularly Spielberg's film AI, Artificial Intelligence, to illustrate a future where biological life transforms into digital or AI life. This perspective blurs conventional boundaries and offers a novel framework for understanding UFO phenomena in the modern age.